Today, we are finishing our 3-round 2026 NFL mock draft with trades. If you guys are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Go check out round one. We're going to be doing a quick recap below my face of my board. It is players that I grade in all 22. An asterisk means I think they're going to fall with reevaluation. A plus is that their grade is a pre-injury evaluation. So let's get into this. Let's have a great time. And it's going to be being put up a little bit late. I'm going to the Miami game. So super excited for that. I get to work those games, and that usually means that I end up recording it, editing it, and being able to upload it a little bit later. So we're only going to talk about the trades that happened. I do know that there's some rumors of like a Jair Alexander trade. So we'll talk about that. And, if we want to toss that in, we want to toss that in. But it's just probably going to be something super small. But continuing to look at everything that happened, we actually had a pretty clean slate to start out the day. And then we end up having a small trade up by the Chiefs to secure their top end running back, basically jumping the Bears because I didn't feel like the Panthers were going to be overly open to the market. And also, I didn't want to just take the risk. So, felt pretty happy with that. The Panthers ended up trading back and ended up selecting, the Browns traded up with the Panthers. So the Browns ended up selecting Mekhi Lemon, basically going best player available. Again, with a lot of the best players still on the board, wide receivers starting to be taken, I felt like we needed to make a more decisive move for a team that has a good amount of draft capital. But I've gotten some pushback on the Trevor Gooseby pick here. I know a lot of people are saying, hey, we're going to end up developing Ozzy Trapilo. I hope that's the case, but I did end up sending him away, I believe, for a 3rd round pick, or maybe like an early 4th. I think it was late 3rd. So feel free to still disagree with that. We'll discuss it in the next week. By that trade back with the Chiefs, the Cowboys went Colton Hood to balance their secondary. I can't speak English. And then via that trade back with the Chiefs, we had the Panthers go Sonny Styles. Then we ended up having the Rams make a couple trade backs, as a matter of fact, with firstly the Denver Broncos. And the Broncos moved up to select Kenyon Sadiq, having a little bit of a down year. I still believe in him a ton, but if you're looking at the actual production, just not where you really thought it would be with the increased role, and especially with the drop rate. It's a little bit concerning, but we do know that Sadiq has the actual talent to be well worth a 1st round pick. The question is why it hasn't fully come together in terms of the production. So we'll see about that. We got some Pregnon comments and saying like, hey, why not go TJ Parker? Very valid criticism. I love Emmanuel Pregnon, but I personally believe TJ Parker would be a great move as well. So those of y'all who brought that up, perfectly valid. I always say, be a dick, just don't be a dick about it. I absolutely think there are a billion different outcomes, which is why I'm able to do this every week. And so it's really good to be able to talk with you guys through it because we continue to try to fine tune and get it to where we want it to be. But, when there are little small changes that we can make, it's always fun. But we do have TJ Parker being traded up for by the Colts, again, via the Rams, because they traded back with Denver. And so I thought it was a great opportunity for the Colts to get a top tier edge. Then we had the Buccaneers, didn't really like the value for them. We traded out of the 1st and had the Dolphins make a move up to get the top tier weapon in KC Concepcion. In my opinion, probably the best returner in the country at the moment. And then, Tony puts it, I got to see, I'll be able to get to see Tony. I'm super excited about that. But, Tony, he's going to probably pass the eye test, and it's going to be great. Then we have the Patriots ending up doing a small trade back with the Cowboys to jump the Eagles to select Christian Miller. Very excited about that because it probably would have been my pick for the Eagles. Again, this is a team that's probably going to be looking for a corner too. I hope they end up being more aggressive, something like Denzel Ward. But, with the way they've been spending their picks, it looks like they're trying to almost Steelers it out with just going after lower value. But it is what it is. And then via that trade back with the Cowboys, we have Dylan Thieneman going to the Patriots. And then Lenore Sellers, that was my plan the whole time, sending him to Los Angeles. Again, very, very rough processor, but physical tools through the roof, passing tools absolutely there. Not like a Jalen Milroe, not like an Anthony Richardson. Lenore is actually a way better passer. It's the processor that's the problem, not the mechanics and not the accuracy, none of that. So let's continue on. Pick number 33, the New Orleans Saints. And first pick, Fernando Mendoza. I decided to keep it chalk and keep it easy. I don't really focus too much on trying to get cute with things. And so I'm going to end up talking about probably going after defensive line here. I mean, the values here, I will say David Bailey scares me with the current like lawsuit that's, or I think it actually might have been criminal charges that have been now filed against him with the photographer. So when they ended up losing, I believe, to ASU, he ended up assaulting and battering a photographer. Not a fan of that personally. Not going to co-sign on that, but a lot of very good talents here. And I want somebody who can work in a 3-4, but also manages to like fit Mickey Loomis's size and like athletic proportions. And you talk about Quincy Rhodes with the athleticism and the fact that he does drop into coverage from time to time. But the player that I think you're going to end up really loving, because Chase Young's been turning it on as well. I'm very excited to see how he's going to end up progressing. It's Zion Young. He's become far more every single down capable. And you can use him in even front. You can kick him inside or use him as a stand-up outside linebacker in odd fronts. Missouri does an amazing job of doing that with their linebacker slash edges. So I do think that he is one of the better pass rushers in the class that does not get any credit as a top tier option. So don't look at the 81 and be like, oh, it's just, I think people will continue catching on because Zion Young has just been phenomenal in every facet of the game this year. And he's taken a big step up. I mean, he used to be a lot more like scheme specific, role specific. And I think that he's ended up like becoming a lot more well balanced. Keldrick Falk was an option there, but again, you'd be using him more on the interior rather than as the edge. But at 34 for the Jets, their first pick, Dante Moore. Can't complain about that. Weaponry usually is the route I go, but also corner core, not a bad idea to do it. Like again with Dante Moore, are there going to be options that you want to see? Like you could talk about Nick Harbor. I do think Nick Harbor, I ended up trying to force him into my Patriots in the first round, but this is not an offense that I think would necessarily benefit from that. You could try to trade back. I mean, you have Keldrick Falk here, who is a very good player. Like he's just a little confused in terms of what his actual build is going to be. So there are some teams I think could take advantage of that. The Ravens being one of them, they are absolutely the type to basically take like a top tier player that's best player available. And I think Keldrick Falk has been a lot better than LT Overton this year. So I will say, like, of those archetypal players that can end up being both on the inside as well as an edge rusher, I think he would end up fitting a lot better. And with the Browns here, and they do like a little bit of the bigger edge rushers, I do think there's going to be a bit of pressure there for the Ravens to move up and basically eliminate the opportunity for the Browns to potentially snipe a really good option. Double checking, I know that I like Arvell Reese to the Ravens, and I love that. The thing about Reese is that, think about this in odd fronts. Odd front and even front. Keldrick Falk and even fronts as the edge. Arvell is a linebacker. In an odd front, where you have like the outside linebacker edge rusher, you have Arvell on the line of scrimmage and Keldrick Falk on the inside. So I think they both are going to be able to work perfectly in tandem. For this move up, I think actually 141 is perfect. You just give the Jets back their pick. And it's a really valuable thing for the Jets specifically because they got a lot of picks in there. And I do think maybe some of this was moved in the Michael Carter trade. I'm going to be honest, it's not going to make a massive difference to me. So we're going to move up here with the Baltimore Ravens and select Keldrick Falk to pair up with Arvell Reese. You need to get a defensive identity once again. And again, I love the idea in certain packages, even front and odd front, you get the value for both of them on the field the whole time. At 35, the Titans went Ruben Bain Jr. at number 3. I love Ruben Bain. We'll see what he ends up doing with the Mustangs. But I think that corner core is starting to be a little bit sketchy. And I do have Jermod McCoy returning in this. I should have said that at the start of the video. Did not do that. That's on me. But I do think that you have to have someone who's physical. You look at what they've drafted in the past. I know that, Borgonzi's in there. But you do need to look at what has worked, what has been on the roster. Granted, they're gutting the whole fucking roster. But to me, the top guys are Chris Johnson, Julian Neal, Malik Muhammad, and Davison Igbinosun. Like, those are the top corners right now. Iggy is definitely somebody who I really, really like. Like, he's going to be somebody who I have as my top 32. And he is 6'2", 195. He's a true boundary corner. I think the more people watch him, the more people are going to love him. I think in the All-Star circuit, he's going to end up really propelling himself forward. So wide receiver as well. Like, we'll take a quick peek before I pull the Iggy trigger. But again, like the wide receivers here, I do feel like it's a little bit high for them. As much as I love Ian Strong, Jeremy Bernard, CJ Daniels, who was just added to the Friday injury list. So will not have the opportunity of seeing him in person. But I'm going to go corner here. I'm going to go after a player who I personally believe in, a boundary corner who could end up being a lockdown one, and that's Davison Igbinosun. At 36 for the Cleveland Browns, Ty Simpson, Mekhi Lemon, great pickups. And at this point, I think the best thing to do is continue investing in the offensive line. Caleb Lamu has some questions as to whether he's going to be a guard or a tackle. I don't care. We're going after Caleb Lamu there at number 36. I probably would have went Keldrick Falk if Caleb Lamu were like taken beforehand, but not the case. Don't have to worry about that. 37, the Buccaneers ended up trading back, and now we're having a good time here with a lot of good draft capital. Eli Raritan, I'm hoping one of these days he gets added to the list. Not today, unfortunately. But I would end up saying that, linebacker is super duper crucial for this team. We already took Anthony Hill beforehand, if I'm not mistaken, to the Bills. This is a great opportunity for CJ Allen. He's a thumper. He's a really high quality linebacker, and it just brings a bit of grit. And again, I'm having David Bailey fall because of the legal issues that he's dealing with right now. Cassius Howell is just somebody with 30.675 inch arms, if I'm not mistaken. So just round down for it's all bad. 30.5 inch arms. It's just not good. And NFL teams are going to know that. I love his game, but nobody in the NFL has succeeded really at that size, especially when you take him this early. So there's just something you have to start factoring in. Number 38 for the New York Giants. Our first pick was Jordan Tyson, which I think is a fantastic move. I do think boundary corners not out of the realm of possibility. I will say that, if Igbinosun were here, just going to be honest, I'm a big fan of that. But athleticism does matter to the Giants. The corners that are available, I don't really believe in them athletically outside of Igbinosun. So to go somewhere else, I think you do need what you want to look at the offensive line. Connor Lew tore his ACL. He's not going to be really considered in this. Isaiah World, he's been up and down to the point where I feel a little bit uncomfortable. It is a very weird spot. Like I like all the way down here at the very end. Maybe not the very end anymore. I might have ended up passing him already. He probably, Alex Harkey. I like him, but he's going to be actually very similar to Marcus Bowe in terms of the skill set. So I'm just going to be honest, probably going to, gonna just wait on that. I know a lot of y'all want some help on the defensive interior as well. And to be honest, with the questions over Dexter Lawrence's future, based on, just the concern, I do think it's not a bad idea to continue arming it. There's Amari Washington would be great as an understudy. And, Darius Alexander hasn't had the impact that you were hoping for. Am I giving up on him? Absolutely not. But Amari Washington also has played edge reps. He'd be an intriguing piece to kind of utilize across the whole line of scrimmage. And going best player available rarely ends up being a bad thing. You can look at the linebacking core right now. I just don't feel comfortable with the value. So I'm just going to leave that there. We're going to end up going Amari Washington, defensive interior out of Oregon, someone who could be a true game changer. Again, just kind of getting a game changer on offense, game changer on defense. And Amari's bull rush is just nasty. You pair him up, of course, with Dexter Lawrence, and I think it frees Dex to be a lot more productive, and hopefully the same thing for Darius Alexander. At 39, we have the New York Jets. Again, first pick, Dante Moore. We traded back, and I'm going to get the weapon here. Didn't like it earlier, but when you end up adding draft capital to it, it makes it go down easier. Jeremy Bernard, great after the catch, kind of your dream wide receiver 3. A lot of people want to say, oh, he's a dream wide receiver 2. I think we forget how good you have to be a true 2. And maybe he'll end up operating as a 2 for the Jets, but it's more so because you don't have an actual 2. So that's the way that I think about it with Jeremy Bernard, but still a fantastic player. Again, I think some people get a little bit worried. And I do have Jermon McCoy returning in this for those of y'all who are wondering. He's a true junior who's literally taking his first practice reps. Like, why can we not just get on board with that? At 40 for the Vegas Raiders, we got Peter Woods in the first. Here in the second, Sam Levitt's going to return, ended up having a season-ending injury. Nussmeier, he's on the table. Mateer's on the table, even though I think he should return to school. Like, Mailava is probably the next best. The problem is day 2 quarterbacks, especially in the second round, are not necessarily overly reliable. And I do think Darian Menza Could be the type of guy to make a strong push. You got Brendan Sorsby there as well. I personally think the Geno project is like very, very annoying, kind of ass. But I will say I just want to get best player available. And the guys who can end up helping out this team, I think are on more of the defensive side that are available at the moment. And that's going to be Zaki Wheatley. He is a top 32 player for me. I love this combination of getting someone who could make a difference on the defensive front and have someone who can clean up on the backside. At 41 for the Arizona Cardinals, Spencer Fano was their first pick. I want to get some deep threat capability here. Chris Brazzell is going to be perfect for this. We'll see what happens with Kyler Murray. I mean, I don't understand what the hell is going on. I saw something about a limited role for Kyler. Never seen that before, but getting a deep threat there with Chris Brazzell is going to be a good way to kind of like give at least somebody who's starting an opportunity to have a bit more of the deep capabilities, or maybe you just free up Marv to do a little bit more of what Marv should be doing. At 42, the Bengals started out with Caleb Downs at 10. As a Steelers fan, that guts me, but that's how you guys know I'm not biased. I do think offensive line is super crucial to fix. The players that are available, I ended up talking about before, I'm not really a huge fan. I do think Austin as well should go back to school. I mean, it just personally, I don't think he's like really earned the respect that I think he's getting right now. Edgewise, you guys like Rass, you like size, and LT Overton unfortunately looks extremely awkward at his size. The player who I think would end up working is Quincy Rhodes or Mateo Uiagalelei. Quincy Rhodes is a player who's 6'6", 275, and he's young too. I think he actually worked really well because he's a pass rushing specialist who's still working on his actual defensive consistency. But at the same time, you got guys like Shamar Stewart that are almost the opposite. So we're going to go after Quincy Rhodes, a junior here out of Arkansas. At 43 for the Atlanta Falcons, no first pick. Wide receiver definitely on the mind here for the second round. And CJ Daniels, when healthy, is just so damn good. I mean, so damn good. I mean, just reliable, consistent, 6'2", just fluid route runner. Definitely somebody you want when healthy. At 44 for the Houston Texans, again, Jamal McCoy not in this. I'm projecting him to go back to school, just so you guys stop complaining about it. Texans first round pick, CC Maui Goa, another player we'll get to see. But regardless, I mean, I like to go Jonah Coleman. He just hasn't produced this year. I keep trying to put him here in the second round, but it is true. Like, he produced early, and then it's kind of been very mediocre, and that kind of sucks. So I would say defensive depth is very underrated for this team. I'd personally actually want to try to flip this for something a little bit more lucrative down the line. Now, I will say I'm not a huge fan of the culture in terms of how you guys almost cultivate players who make some cheap shots here and there. The thing that sits the worst with me, obviously, there's Azeez Al-Shaair in the CBS list, CBS receipt of the list of things that he's done. But it was Harris like pushing JSN when he didn't have a helmet on into the bench. Like, to me, that just screams like, what the fuck are you doing? You're a dirty ass player. And I really like Christian Harris. So I'm like, why the hell is it like that? All that to say, I'm using that as an excuse to get you a very good player here. And David Bailey to be in the rotation. You're just taking best player available. And how often does that fail? Not very often. At 45 for the Vikings, first pick, Avion Trell. Very comfortable with that. Here at 45, I think Jennings Dunker as a center just kind of fits the bill. Kelly with the concussions, obviously not really going to be the long-term future. There is a concern, I believe, at right tackle as well. This is just not the class for it. If I'm just going to be completely honest, not the class for it. At 46 for the Houston Texans, again, CC Mauigoa, David Bailey. Could just go for the trifecta here with Caleb Banks, but, Caden McDonald is a very, very good option. Now, are there teams that might be looking for a nose tackle that would want to jump the Cowboys? I know Cowboys already went Christian Miller, but also maybe there's a team that wants to jump the Bears. Like, how many teams want? Ooh, the Chargers could get aggressive here. Looking at the nose tackles, let's see. If you miss out on Caden McDonald, because I know he's going to be gone by 49, you miss out on Caden McDonald. There's Caleb Banks, but big injury red flags. Dom Orange has not been great this year. Dante Corleone, in my opinion, is a little bit overrated. Darrell Jackson's limited as a run defender. Cole Brever's limited in terms of reps. Tim Keenan's always just been a big plug. I would say this is going to be the last nose tackle with like a legitimate super ceiling outside of the injuries. I'm going to be a little bit aggressive here with the Chargers because I think it is a very, very valuable asset to have with a very consistent nose tackle. So, to make an 8-spot move, I'm going to give up a 4th-round pick. However, I think for Houston, the goal should be trying to replenish those future picks as well. So we're going to end up providing a future 5th. And then, I mean, honestly, if you guys want to, you can flip it for a future 4th. And I think I will be perfectly fine with that. So 2 fourths to move up, 8 spots. You can end up arguing whether that's going to be valuable enough. It's not going to massively change anything. But the Chargers, who in the first round went Vega Ione, an absolute plug on the offensive line, going to flip it around and go Caden McDonald, a plug on the defensive line. At 47 for the Cowboys, Colton Hood, Christian Miller. Very excited to have that dynamic duo. Linebacker-wise, I've kind of depleted the guys that I would want. Edge rusher-wise, this is where we can get a little bit cute with it. I think Cassius Howell at this point, talent-wise, is worth the risk. Undersized edge rushers have been more consistent for the Cowboys in terms of you look at Houston, you look at Azaraku. Now, I'm forgetting what Houston's arm length was. If it is over 33 and a half, then I would end up disqualifying Cassius Howell. Like if it's a 33 and under, then it's already somebody who has potential concerns at arm length, and then, you can deal with it. But Cassius Howell, you need someone who can get the quick wins. And that's what Cassius Howell can do. And again, he's a little bit undersized, 6'2", 248, but the talent is ridiculous. It's just, yeah. All right, 48 for the Panthers. First pick, Sonny Styles. 2nd round, we're going to go Cleve Lubin if I haven't taken him already. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. So Cleve Lubin, love him to death. Edge rusher out of Louisville. 250 pounds, 6'2". He's just a consistent, strong edge rusher that can set the edge. But on top of that, he has a crazy high pass rush win rate. We're going to go after Cleve Lubin there. At 49 for the Bears, honestly, Cleve would have been great. Again, we ended up trading away Ozzie Trapilo for pick 99 and swapped it with Trevor Gooseby. I know there's been some disagreement with that. I respect it. Dennis Allen, like 6'5", 265 with long arms. That to me is Malachi Lawrence. And, you look at Malachi, I mean, he's been in the top 10 to 15 for a true pass rush win rate as well as just normal pass rush win rate. I'm a big fan of that. I personally would like to move down, but the more I look at the players available, you got Mateo here. It's not a bad idea to move down with the Bears. I know they love to do their trades and stuff, but Mateo's here. Mateo's here too. I feel like it's fair. I think it's more realistic to say Mateo Uiagalelei would end up going first. Especially since the Chiefs traded up. This is a good opportunity to trade back down. LT Overton, to me, has just kind of almost bulked up to be a glorified defensive tackle. I need him to go to a system where I'd trust that a little bit more. The Chiefs would be that, but I want to trade out of here anyways with Caleb Banks on the board. Again, there's LT Overton here as well. Looking for teams that might actually be open to that. Not many. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I would say probably the next best team for it would be the Lions, because they can end up kicking him inside, kind of play him like a Josh Pascal role. I think that'd be very intriguing. Honestly, I mean, actually, I know that the Seahawks need more of like a bona fide nose as well. So I'm not really going to be looking at someone to be more of a tweener in that aspect. It's a little bit limited in terms of the demand for LT Overton, to where I don't think I would end up going after him. So what other players are worth moving up for? Gabe Backus is a no. Chris Johnson, I mean, I will say the corner core is pretty limited. The Steelers will be looking for a corner. In the first round, I went Denzel Boston. So are there teams that are looking for a boundary corner? Because you kind of need to move up for it right now. And to be honest, not really. Like the Packers, and like the Colts, but the Colts already moved up once. The Packers have to make a ludicrous trade to move all the way up here. That's crazy. Not many teams needing a cornerback that are available, or at least in the vicinity. Quarterback wise, I don't think anybody's going to be like overly excited for a move up like that. Maybe we have to just stick and pick. I mean, if there's no value there for teams to move up for, then there's no value there. I think for the Chiefs, we have to go after the edge core. The question is, do you want to go LT Overton, or do you want to go after someone who I have a huge amount of faith in Malachi Lawrence? I will say Spags likes him bigger, and Malachi is measured at 263. He has 35-inch arms. I'm going to roll the dice. We're going to go Malachi Lawrence, edge rusher out of UCF. At 51 for the Steelers, we went Denzel Boston in the first. I feel comfortable with the options at quarterback on day 3. Like I was talking about, I'm going to go after corner here. If I didn't get Chris Johnson, I'd feel comfortable going after Julian Neal or Malik Muhammad. But Chris Johnson's been fantastic this year. Super high zone IQ, good and off coverage, good physicality. I don't have a grade on him because I don't have San Diego State tape, but still can end up talking about what I have seen, and what I've seen is awesome. At number 52 for the Jags, this is their first pick. They've been up and down for sure. I like to look at left tackle for them. This is where you could try to go after an Isaiah World and just develop him, or a Caden Green. Caden Green's been a little bit different than the tackles that you guys have drafted before. Technically you gotten some tweeners, but that's kind of what Caden Green is. But I'm like, I would prefer something a little bit more consistent and legitimate. So I think wide receiver, there's technically rumors, but I don't believe in them. Quarterback, no. Tight end, no. Well, tight end is possible. Eli Raridan's here, and I love Eli Raridan. Like, love him to death. Tight end from Notre Dame. I think that he is a fantastic weapon. Honestly, wouldn't be bad for the Niners to go after him. Let's do it. Let's go Eli Raridan. And again, Trev, please put Eli Raridan in here. He was on my wish list. Continuing to let Luke Hodge get his ADP bump, by the way. But Eli Raridan, a player who I have in my top 50 at 46 currently. I'm continuing to update my board. You guys probably see some changes that are going to be coming to the Patreon. At 53, we have the Niners, Caden Proctor in round number 1 to play that guard role for the short, tackle for the long. A quick pass rush winner is going to be super crucial for this team. I mean, LT Overton would just be kind of a consistency of what you guys already have. I love the idea of letting Joshua Josephs end up being essentially the Will McDonald in terms of the 240-pounder with really good bend, very long arms. We're going to go after Joshua Josephs here for the Niners. 54 for the Texans, first 2 picks, CeCe Marigoa, David Bailey. I feel comfortable now looking at Caleb Banks and taking a flyer on him. I know some people don't like that, but I feel comfortable with that. At 55 for the Rams, we've gotten Carnell Tate and Lenoris Sellers. Kind of a killer duo, if you ask me. Corners available at this point. You got Julian Neal, AJ Harris, and Malik Muhammad. To me, I don't think there's like really a way that you can go wrong with this. Julian Neal is a redshirt senior, a little bit more bulky. AJ Harris, I'm just not fully sold on him. I'd actually say I'm a little bit more sold on like Malik Muhammad's upside. Like AJ Harris is more balanced as a corner, and with the Rams trading for McCreary, I don't really know if you need to necessarily target that. I mean, I do know guard is on the table as well, but I'm going to go after Malik Muhammad, cornerback out of Texas. At 56 for the Detroit Lions, first pick, Caleb Tiernan. I was talking about potential corner here as well, but LT Overton as an edge who can kick to the inside is going to be very valuable. Just get him into better shape. That's my hot take. Just get him into better shape. At 57 for the Bills, first pick, Anthony Hill Jr. Very comfortable with that. Second pick here, you could definitely talk about linebacker, defensive back, wide receivers on the table as well. Some very good ones. Whit Weeks is a monster to me. I really like him. Kyle Lewis as well. Like, you can't really go wrong with these guys, just personally. So I would end up saying like Teray York's getting a lot of hype. Deontay Lawson just depends on the weight. But I'm a big Whit Weeks guy. So I'm going to rock it. We're going to go Whit Weeks, linebacker out of LSU. 58, Seattle Seahawks, Emmanuel Pregnon in round 1. I do like the idea of going edge here. Boye Mafe up for a contract. I will say if Caleb Banks were here, we'd end up going with him. A true nose would be nice, but I think I can wait till round 3 for maybe someone like Tim Keenan if I wanted to free up Byron Murphy to play a position he should play. But R. Mason Thomas is somebody who's an absolute freak. The problem is his size is a little bit underrated, or a little bit underwhelming, I should say, at like I think he's around 248. But you can use him as a DPR, and he's a savage. So I'm going to go after R. Mason Thomas. It's a first round value. He's a player who's just worth putting into the system and seeing if he works. Broncos went Kenyon Sadiq via a trade up in the first round. I do think center should at least be on their mind. And I will be looking at my favorite center in the draft, Lyndon Cooper out of Pittsburgh. We'll look for somebody to end up getting an ADP boost. We'll go Davion Carter here out of Georgia Tech, or excuse me, Texas Tech. But Lyndon Cooper, center out of Pittsburgh, he ended up handling Peter Woods extremely well in one-on-ones. So, I mean, last year, that was like kind of my selling point on him. On top of that, he's added 15 pounds because I thought he was a little bit light. I think he needs to kind of take off 5 more and then end up being about 310. But I mean, the power's there, the anchor's there. Not many people are giving him the love he deserves, but he's a damn good player. Buccaneers traded back, got CJ Allen. This is also a really good spot where R. Mason Thomas would have been greatly appreciated. Romello Height could be in the equation, but he's just such a DPR that I am a little bit worried about the translatability. At this point, though, I do think it's perfectly fine. You do have guys like David Walker coming back, and I feel comfortable with that. We're going to go after Romello Height. 61 for the Patriots. Dylan Thieneman was our first pick. I will say that edge rusher will be also on my to-do list for y'all. With Denai Dennis Sutton here, I actually want him to go to a spot with Vrabel where he can reach his potential. Feels like a quick and easy move. 62 for the Eagles. Again, we ended up trading pick 99 for Ozzie Trapilo. And then we end up getting Keith Abney there in the first. So we got tackle and wide receiver filled. I think the next position would also be in that edge core, but looking at the players, Akeem Mesidor would be the guy who I think could end up being like the better player out of the bunch. Just under 33-inch arms, but he's been extremely productive. And the problem is it's a round 2 pick. So you could end up trying to trade out of here. Derek Moore's been a fantastic pass rusher, though. I do know y'all like your guys from Michigan. He's 260 pounds as well. We'll go Derek Moore. I like Derek Moore. Good value there. 63 for the Packers. No picks as of yet. I want to go for a boundary corner. AJ Harris is a good value there. We'll end up taking him. At 64 for the Colts, their first pick was TJ Parker via a trade up. Here at number 64, I want to go for a boundary corner with Julian Neal, but I can't. He's kind of the exact corners that they've been trying to stray away from. So it just doesn't really feel right to do that. They got pretty much a ton on lockdown. There's not much that they need to really improve. Edge core, again, we've already fixed it. So it's like linebacker right now. Kyle Lewis is a monster. We'll go after someone who I have top 32. Yeah, we'll go Kyle Lewis there. At number 65 for the Saints, we have Zion Young, Fernando Mendoza. I'm glad that we end up going edge there because right now I just don't feel very comfortable with the edges after we just took a ton of them. There's a couple guys here, but again, I feel very happy going after a top tier one. But at number 65, I do want to get someone who could be a true wide receiver too. Now the question is, do you want to go after someone who's going to be a little bit more contested catch specific, or do you want someone who's going to be a little bit more well-rounded? With the threat of Rashid Shaheed being traded, I'm going to go after someone who's a little bit more of a deep threat. We're going to go Antonio Williams, wide receiver out of Clemson. We'll see if he comes out. I think a lot of guys on Clemson might redshirt. At 66 for the Philadelphia Eagles, Keith Abney, Derek Moore, Ozzie Trapilo, again, kind of like the dark horse in that group. You could look at a guard right now, but in my opinion, if you end up trying to acquire a tackle, I think you should try like Cam Williams and Hinton at guard. And I think that would end up paying off. Safety-wise, I think Keon Saab is going to be a really good player to end up. Well, AJ Halsey is a little bit better. AJ Halsey could pair up very, very well with Andrew Makuba because Halsey's not the best athlete in the world. He's a little bit more of an enforcer with a ball hawk mentality. And I think it's a bit better to have him in pair with why am I forgetting Andrew Makuba's name when you can end up having, because Keon Saab's a little bit more of an overlap. So we're going to go AJ Halsey there for the Eagles and just have a completely revamped secondary. At 67 for the Tennessee Titans, Ruben Bain, Davison Igbinosun. I feel very comfortable with the fact that we waited and we're going to end up getting another weapon here. Now you can go after Nick Harbor and end up getting a big deep threat. I don't think it's going to help out a lot. I want to get somebody who could separate in short range and also create after the catch. It's all on Chim DK right now. And, with contested catch guys, it's a good option. I'm not going to blame y'all if you guys say like, hey, we do need to go after someone who's a true X. Ian Strong's like 6'3" and has incredible route running as well as contested catch ratings. So we'll go Ian Strong. I like that option. 68, Browns win all offense. Ty Simpson, Mekhi Lemon, Caleb Lamu. Don't mind going it again, but looking at the corner here with Julian Neal, the physicality matches the AFC North. I think that you just need to go and take a good value here at 68 on a corner that can bring a lot of talent to the table for somebody that is in a position where you usually draft more developmental guys. At 69 for the Miami Dolphins, our first pick was Mansour Delane, second pick KC Concepcion. So we kind of have our two difference makers in the receiving game slash the coverage game there. I do think offensive line is where we need to kind of focus next. Jake Slaughter's been pretty damn solid. Nicky Prongos, I think, returns to school, but I think Caden Green's the option here. He's a tackle that you'll be shifting to guard, but he's a super high floor guard that is completely different than what you guys have now. You are free from Chris Greer, so we need to take offensive line more often than ever, but you also have that tackle upside with him, which I do like. Texans, CeCe Malagoa, David Bailey, Caleb Banks. I'm going to go after running back here, and I'm going to go after, I don't, the problem is all the power backs are, underwhelming this year. I'll go Jonah Coleman because we have seen the upside with him this year of him being a true RB2 in a good running back committee situation with Woody Marks. 71 for the Ravens, Arvell Reese, Keldrick Falk. Nasty dynamic duo right there. We also are going to look at interior offensive line for this team, and I can't wait for Jagasaw to come back healthy. I think he ended up having an ATV accident that's put him out for a while. But Chase Bazontis has been really, really reliable this year, taking a huge step up from last year. The question is Austin Barber or Chase Bazontis. And I think Austin Barber is going to slip to this point, and because of the fact that people know what his skill set is as a tackle, they're going to be excited about him to be able to grow him as a long-term option, either as a swing tackle or as a full-time guard. But I like the upside there with the ability to have that vision. But Austin Barber's always been a guard to me. He's going to end up being a guard, but he does have tackle length. At 72 for the Vegas Raiders, Peter Woods, Zaki Wheatley. We need something on the offensive side. Let's get a developmental quarterback in here. I did not say John Mateer will go back to school. I think he should. This is a good opportunity to have him sit and grow and develop. At 73 for the Arizona Cardinals, Spencer Fano, Chris Brazel. We need to look at the linebacker core as well. You got Terrain York, Jake Golday, Jacob Rodriguez, and Deontay Lawson as the top options. A lot of other very, very good players. Aiden Fisher deserves a lot of love. Jack Kelly's been very solid. Desmond Purnell has been extremely productive. So you can't really go wrong. The question is, what type of role do you want? And if you do want a true Mike, Jacob Rodriguez is your guy. He's 240 pounds. He's been extremely balanced in terms of the protection, or in terms of the overall consistency between coverage, run stop, as well as pass rush. 74 for the Cincinnati Bengals, Caleb Downs, Quincy Rhodes to start out. Do need to also focus on the interior of the offensive line if we can. And honestly, at this point, you might as well go Isaiah World. He has the measurables to be a tackle, but his play style is kind of lended more towards an early impact at guard. So we're going to go after him at 74. 75 for the Atlanta Falcons, C.J. Daniels, the first round selection. Here in round number 3, you go after DJ McKinney again. I think he should end up returning to school. This corner core gets very, very, very limited because I love Velcro Pawns. It's just 5'7", or I think 5'9", 170. Very, very tough to convince when a team has some issues. We're going to go after a legit nose tackle, and I just want to plug the run. I don't want to get sexy here. We're going to go Darrell Jackson Jr. out of Florida State. At 76 for the Commanders, went Chris Bell in the first, and I do think this team needs as much firepower as possible. We need to go to the edge core here, and a lot of good choices. I just want to get someone who's consistent. I'm going to go after Akeem Mesidor, the edge rusher from the Hurricanes. I got hiccups. He ended up actually being graded fully. He's a day 2 player for me, even with the age. He's going to be 25 as a rookie, but you're getting somebody who's going to step in instantly into his prime. And in my opinion, that's not a bad thing for a team that just needs instant production. You're not trying to develop what this team should be in 10 years. You're trying to maximize Jaden Daniels' rookie contract. And I think Akeem Mesidor can step in and kind of offer that. 77 Vikings, we got Avion Terrell, Jennings, and Dunker. I like that combination. And honestly, I want to go after someone who could be a really, really big piece in a year or two. And that's going to be Jadarian Price, running back from Notre Dame. The only reason he's not considered as a round 2 option is because there's a round 1 option in front of him, and he doesn't get the necessary carries there. But there is the benefit added of him being also someone who doesn't have as much tread taken off the tires. 78 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, CJ Allen, Romello Height. I'm going to be going after Max Clare, tight end from Ohio State. Transferred there this past year from Purdue. He was my tight end, I think, 3 coming into the year. That's because I didn't think Kitzelman was going to have a 17% drop rate this year, but Max Clare is actually a perfect K. Dalton replacement. At 79 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Denzel Boston, Chris Johnson, the first selections. I think this is where you can start looking at quarterbacks, and having a big arm, having some good mobility is super crucial. I mean, some people will talk about Brendan Sorsby. It's not going to be a bad choice. I like Jaden Mayava a little bit more. So I'm going to go for someone who's fits a little bit more of what we've had in the past for the Steelers, which is bigger guys with big arm talent. 80, Carolina Panthers, Sonny Styles, Cleve Lubin. Really good grouping there. I'm going to look at defensive back here. And again, Jermod McCoy considered returning. If you guys didn't know that before, probably should. I mean, Jermod McCoy, I could hate him as much as I wanted. I'd like to blend my board with realism. I would have taken him by now, even if I despise the man, which I do not. Keon Saub's the choice here. Rangy safety, comparable like Corey Thornton and the rest of the gang, Lathan Ransom, etc. A lot of young guys who are growing in that core at 80. It's worth it. The Bears, I would have loved actually to go after Keon Saub, but not the case here. Trevor Gooseby, Mateo Uyangole, we ended up shipping off. Ozzy Tropilo for that 99th pick. Again, there's some people who are mad about that. I respect it, understandably so. I'm going to go after Damon Claiborne to be the Jahmyr Gibbs of the squad. When healthy, he is so damn good. I think it's going to be a huge asset for y'all. 82, we got the Dallas Cowboys, Colton Hood, Christian Miller, Cassius Howell. We need to look a little bit on the offensive side. The question is there anybody at offensive line you can try to develop? I think Emil Wagner would return to school over come out if he thought that this was where he would go. Not to throw shade, but I mean, let's just be realistic here. Linebacker's possible with Deontay Lawson here. As long as he stays at the right size, I think he's going to be perfectly fine. So we're going to go Deontay Lawson there out of Alabama. At 83 for the Pittsburgh Steelers, Denzel Boston, Chris Johnson, Jaden Mayava. Balanced approach for honestly what we need to look at. I do think that defensive interior, we need to start continuing to add to it because unfortunately we are seeing the regressive steps from Cam Hayward with age. So the question is, can we get someone who can flex at nose as Wyatt Black continues to learn the game and also have some value as a 3-tech? I'm going to go Big Dom Orange here out of Iowa State. Been extremely unimpressive this year, but we do know the talent is there. And at 83, that's why you end up taking him. At number 84, we have the Jaguars, who ended up taking Eli Raridan, a top 50 player for me, tight end out of Notre Dame. So here at number 84, this is also a team I know will end up doing a trade at the end because I just don't feel like this team is in the right spot to make the most out of it. I'm going to look at offensive line and the value here. I do want someone who could have the potential to play left tackle. God, man, tackles this class freaking suck. Again, Austin, I think, would return to school, and I also think of him as a guard. So it's just ugh. Honestly, another weapon wouldn't be the worst thing on planet Earth, especially if you can end up trying to get Trav to go a little bit more full-time at corner, even though he's kind of the wide receiver one. I'm going to go after best player available. I'm going to go D'Angelo Velcro Ponce. He's going to be someone who could stick on the boundary, stick on the outside, or on the nickel. I don't really care. It's kind of a Jordan Lewis pick here, but you're just going best player available for a dog who ends up having good ball skills as well. I just feel like you got to get the max value out of that pick rather than trading back. Just end up getting a player who you will end up feeling is kind of a steal. 85 for the Niners, we have Joshua Josephs, Caden Proctor. Honestly, a really good duo. At safety, I actually like Kamari Ramsey, but he is someone who plays a little bit too much in the nickel. I'm going to go Emmanuel McNeil Warren here, defensive back out of Toledo. Rangy safety with some good ball skills. Definitely somebody who's been considered even as high as a 2nd-round pick. If I'm not mistaken, he also just got his Shrine Bowl invitation, so good for him. 86 for the Chargers, traded up for Caden McDonald, got Vega Eone as well. So we've done the do with the interior of both lines. I do think a skilled pass rusher would not be a bad thing at this moment. And that's actually exactly what Max Llewellyn is. He's been an extremely consistent pass rusher, but is still kind of putting it together as a run defender with his arm length. And that's kind of what you guys need. So I want to give credit for somebody. For me, I ended up having him as a top 40 player coming into the year. And he's been a very, very consistent, technically sound edge rusher. I want to give him credit in this episode. 87 for the Rams, Carnell Tate, Lenore Sellers, Malik Muhammad. Kind of like just like a killer trio right there. Very happy with that. Again, developmental offensive linemen aren't really singing to me right now. Not very happy with, what would end up being coming out of that. I'm going to go after the linebacker room, and I'm going to go after a player's 240 pounds with some incredible range. We're going to go after Jake Golday, linebacker out of Cincinnati. 88 for the Jacksonville Jaguars, Luke Hodge, not Eli Raridan from Notre Dame, and D'Angelo Velcro Pons. At this point, again, I feel like you just need to trade out at this point. I don't think the value is here. And I mean, it's just not a good class. The more I've come to realization, we already went tight end. I'm like, we could always go tight end for this team. Kamari Ramsey's good value here too. I just feel like we're getting too many guys who are possibly nickel. So I'm just worried about that aspect of things. Eli Stowers, again, we already took tight end. So it's like, you're not getting very much value there. Mikhail Kamara, I mean, if you just want to get a bunch of dogs, which is kind of what you guys should be doing, just getting consistent depth and consistent play, Mikhail Kamara is a beast. Let's do it. We're just going to be BPA for the Jaguars at the moment. I like that for them. At number 89 for the Bills, first pick, Anthony Hill, Whit Weeks. I would have went Mikhail Kamara here. That's why I felt comfortable saying, all right, screw it. I'll just steal with him. I'll steal him the pick before. I'm going to end up going after the ceiling of Gabe Akis here because Gabe Akis has shredded so much body fat. He looks so much more healthy. And it just looks like he's trying to learn his body. So you're just going to be getting somebody who has shown what he can do and is just learning how to do it in the current build that he's in, which is a much better one. So we're going to go after someone who's about 275, can set the edge, just needs to be a little bit more refined as a run defender at his size, which is very possible given his build. Seahawks, Emmanuel Pregnon, R. Mason Thomas. I'm going to end up going after somebody who a lot of people are probably going to be clamoring. Is like, well, you had him in a first. Well, that's because I ended up dropping him because everybody got all pissy. I blend my board with what people want. And it gives you a good little tailored taste of what people on the show end up looking at, what I end up looking at, and what the overall community looks at. Nick Harbor's perfect for a Kubiak system. So we're going to end up doing that. At number 91, the great D threat, also 6'5", 235. So, I mean, it literally is the dream for Clint Kubiak if he's the offensive coordinator. At 91 for the Denver Broncos, Kenyon Sadiq, and then Lyndon Cooper, center out of Pittsburgh. Not many bad moves you can make at this point. Unfortunately, there's not really a bowling ball type that you can end up going after. Terrian Stewart's just not athletic enough to be worth this pick. But linebacker, we'll end up going after it. We're going to test the ceiling of Torrey and York because we've seen some really big splash plays. I do think the floor is pretty damn scary. So that's my only concern. 92 for the Buccaneers, Romello Height, Max Clare, C.J. Allen. I think at this point we can go after someone who's going to be a little bit more of a boundary contested catch threat. We're going to test Elijah Surratt, a wide receiver out of Indiana. 93 for the Patriots, Dylan Thieneman, denied Dennis Sutton as the two selections. I do think tight end's open at this point. You could talk about an Eli Stowers, Justin Jolie. Justin Jolie, I love him. But I would end up saying, I do think, I don't know why y'all think that wide receiver is not a position you should target. Just because you've missed on wide receivers before does not mean that you should be shying away from getting better at wide receiver. I'm going to go after Jacoby Lane here, wide receiver out of USC. He's just a balanced X receiver. Reminds me a little bit of some of the foundations that George Pickens had in terms of the clean release package. Maybe not the most explosive coming out of college, but definitely somebody that has the potential to be a legitimate high tier threat. And at 93, that's well worth it. Eagles have gone corner, edge, safety, and right tackle via that 99th pick trade. I'm going to go tight end here for them, and I'm going to go Justin Jolie. He's about 265. He can burn. And he ended up being famous last week because he ended up having a touchdown while he's gimping to the end zone. So I love that energy there for him. Want a little bit better blocking, but I do think he's continuing to get better and better at that. And you could always go after a Miles Kitzelman later on. 95 for the Green Bay Packers, A.J. Harris, the first selection, understandably so. I want to get someone who could threaten it deep. Granted, Omar Cooper Jr. would be really, really fun, but I'm going to go Bryce Lance, who has some aspects of Christian Watson, who, if I'm not mistaken, might not be on the team as of next year based on contract. 96, Indianapolis Colts, TJ Parker, Kyle Lewis. Not sexy, but just damn good. That's kind of how I feel about it. Corner is going to be the option here for me, and I'm going to just go after Chandler Rivers, the high floor defensive back out of Duke. Very high IQ, just able to play a multitude of positions. Just got to end up taking him wherever you can. 97, Minnesota Vikings, Avion Terrell, Jennings Dunker, Jadarian Price. This is a ballsy move, and we'll see if Brosmer ends up doing well. But with Brendan Sorsby on the board, I'm going to take a shot at him and see if he can end up working in Kevin O'Connell's system. I think it's a low risk move. You've already gotten a lot of impact players. I feel very comfortable with the value there. 98 for the Steelers, Denzel Boston, Chris Johnson, Jaden Maava, and Big Dom Orange. I'm going to look at the interior of the offensive line and see if we can end up getting anybody. With Chase Bizontis, I think the value is there. We're going to end up getting him based on the elevated play that he's had. The hand technique, the foot technique has improved noticeably, and we do need one guard spot to be filled. So I'm hoping that he ends up stepping up to the challenge. At 99 for the Chicago Bears, Trevor Guzzi, Mateo Uiagalelei, and Damond Claiborne. Very happy with that. This was the pick that we got out of Ozzie Trapilo. Again, if you don't want that, feel free to not count this pick. But defensive back is still available here. Tao Johnson, someone who can play in the nickel, can play with range, and he's coming off of one of the best weeks that he's had. We're going to go after a quality player there in Tao Johnson. And at 100 for the Jacksonville Jaguars, we will be having a team trade up here because I just am tired of picking with the Jags. It's like one of the big things. I'm like, there's not really much here for the Jags. I do want to go and basically test out, like for the Dolphins, we ended up not getting them a quarterback, I believe, at 5, correct? Am I tripping? We got Mansour Delane. Yeah, we haven't even gotten a quarterback for him yet. This is the prime time to do it. And it's a good opportunity. We'll just flop a 6 for, I think a future 6 could be fine. But, looking at it, we could go 167 and trade back 180. I think a move up of 13 spots is valid for a move back of 5. So, Dolphins move up. They've gone Delane, Concepcion, and Caden Green, and they end up moving up to the very end. You can end up having your select of the players. I do think Menzo returns to school to try to make a strong push, but Garrett Nussmeier is the selection for me there. We'll see if he can end up competing with Tua, but that is going to be the video. Thank you so much for watching, showing the love that you always do. I'll see you later. Peace.